Okay, that should be at least on there. It's got a clip system now. It's like the little clips hitting my face, so it's not very comfortable for me right now. I'm gonna have to get, still got this tennis ball in my pocket. Hopefully it won't fall out. Oh, I'm gonna go up here. I've never been up here. What does it matter? It's 5 in the morning. What does it matter? It's 5 o'clock in the freaking morning. Yes, so anyways, that's why, you know, kids are, I think, there's nothing like being a kid, right? Everything is just, you really are, for the most part. I just remember being so, all you truly cared about was just like having fun, right? Or like looking forward to school being out, or like going to your friend's house or something, and that was like literally all you cared about. And you didn't care about like how other people perceived you. You didn't care about like the other sex as far as like being in a relation. I mean, you didn't even know any of that stuff. It didn't matter. And so I guess I've been trying to go back to that, because there was no amount of money that someone could have that replaces that. Where am I, dude? I really do not know where this is. There's no amount of money that replaces that feeling. I don't care. You could be the richest guy in the world, and there's going to be kids that are, if you had a way to measure happiness, probably the average kid, you know, that is not in like an abusive environment, has more happiness than that guy. And that's just because they're not worried about what they don't know, right? But you know, once you get into your like teens and you start worried about what other people think about you, worrying about if you're, you know, adequate, worrying what you're going to do with the rest of your life, how you're going to provide for yourself, how you're going to, if you're going to have kids, you know, what's my purpose? All these questions that cannot be answered. They simply cannot be answered. You may think you know the answer, but there really isn't an answer to that question. That isn't like a contrived answer, right? So I really don't want to go on the freeway, but I will. We're gonna get off though at the college. So yes, that's I think that's the advantage of being. I think it's also nostalgia. I mean, people typically, you know, that's like when you see old people, right, who are like 50, 60, 70 years old, and I mean older people. What are they typically doing? Like, they're talking about the good old days. They're listening to music from their generation, from when they were growing up. They are driving, you know, they talk about, oh, I want to get a 70 or a 67 Mustang or whatever, right? Because that's what, you know, that's the time period in which their material desires were formed, right? They thought the Ford Mustang was a cool car, and they really liked REO's Speedwagon, you know, or the Rolling Stones or whatever. And so that becomes kind of their identity, right? Where like those are the things they like, and that kind of forms their opinion on what stuff they like, what they think is cool, and gives them like it's a compass, I would say. It's just a compass. I gotta get over and left lane. See, now I'm going 60 miles an hour. I feel like I'm going really fast because I'm talking, and usually I'd be going like 90 or at least 80. And so, yes, those thoughts get generated at an age which you're young. And that's what I was telling my brother. I was like, I think, you know, everyone wants something from when they couldn't have it, right? So when you were a 13, 14, 15-year-old kid and you saw like a Plymouth, I think it's a Plymouth Barracuda or whatever, you know, just like a cool car, like a Corvette or whatever, it became something you wanted so much, and it became something that like is ingrained in your memory. Why? It's not just because it's cool, it's because it's cool and it's something that you couldn't have, right? You had no financial means to ever get it. Your parents obviously weren't going to buy the car, right? They were driving a station wagon or whatever. And so what do? You know, you go through life's motions, and you know, whenever you have enough resources to do it, you're like, well, what am I going to buy? Well, I'm not going to buy a new car. I'm going to buy something that has been in my thoughts for a long time, because I thought it was so cool when I was at the age, you know, when I couldn't have it, and my thought process on cool stuff was just being formed, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever to have that car, right? So that happens at a young age. But you know, non-material things like, I don't know, I mean, everyone knows what I'm talking about. I mean, you know the time at which, like, you finally come alive, right? That's what I say. I'm like, yeah, you know, those were the, you finally have like a conscience. You finally, you know, can remember stuff, and you're worried about, you start worrying so much more about stuff, right? Where normally it was just about, you know, literally just like having fun. That's all it was about, right? And I don't know what age that is. I mean, I can't remember exactly. I just remember it was probably like middle school, like late middle school, like actually no, I'll take that back. Probably high school. When I was in middle school, I think I was like a pretty happy person. Like, not to say that I'm not now, but I think all I really cared about was, like, you know, you're in a cocoon, right? You're in a network that's not real. That gets me to the schooling system, but you're in a network where you're surrounded by, you know, 1,000 or 2,000 other people from your little small town, and those are the people who you're around for literally, you know, it can be 25% of your entire life, right? You're around the same people. You go to elementary school with them, you play sports with them, you're in band with them, you go on trips with them, you know, you argue with them, you fight with them, you know, you get in a relationship with these people, and you can't choose that, right? Those are just people that, you know, so you end up being friends or not friends with people that you had no, you know, you're just put into that environment. So it could be good, it could be bad. You know, you could be someone that's like, what, you know, is popular in high school. You could be someone that's not popular in high school. You could be someone that's like gets made fun of a lot. You could be someone, and so, you know, you see the whole gamut, right, of people in high school. But I felt like in middle school that just didn't happen. I don't know. I was like way more happier in middle school. And high school, you know, obviously you have like four different, we had 9th grade through 12th grade. So you had people that were like 13 years old and 14 years old, and up to people that were 18, 19 years old. Maybe not 19. I was 19 when I graduated, almost, but 18 years old. So that's a huge age range there, right? I mean, it's not like a 60-year-old and a 55-year-old. I mean, these are people who are like barely going through the development process of being 13 years old, and then, you know, people that are basically adults, right? And like I said, you can have people that are totally immature and they're just kind of assholes, you know, be interacting with people who are really sweet and really nice, and I just remember that, like, one of the classes I was in, I was a senior, and there was a senior guy in my class, and he was just not a nice guy. I mean, maybe he is now, I don't know. obviously you're not gonna, you know, you're just trying to like impress people in high school and just get like attention, and so people say a lot of weird stuff, and you know, I mean, everyone knows those type of people, right? So he was a senior, so he was probably 17, 18 years old, whatever. And no one, I mean, everyone that knew the guy was like, God, this guy's just, you know, like, he'll say anything, and he'll say really fucked up stuff in front of people. He just doesn't care, right? And I was just like, dude, like, I didn't want to interact with this guy, because he was just, you know, he would literally say anything, and it would be just the most inappropriate thing. That's the first time this light has turned for me. Anyways, I'm in a class. I had to take a class senior year because I had to do, you know, like a bullshit fucking arts class, right? Like a cooking class or whatever. Cooking class, or like a music class. And so or a photography class, right? One of those classes. So and it was just an introductory course, but I had never taken that type of class. So I was a senior. It was literally like, dude, you got to take one of these classes to meet the requirement, you know, of the state or whatever to get your diploma. And I was like, well, you know, I was like an honor, I wasn't like the cream of the crop student. I was like a 3.6 in high school, which was like pretty damn good. And I took some honors classes, and you know,